In a visit to London's recently reopened National Portrait Gallery, an American couple next to me gasped, alongside Marcus Rashford, Riz Ahmed, Grayson Perry, Baroness Doreen Lawrence, Stormzy with his mum, my personal favorite, Ed Sheeran, Andy Murray, Maureen Lipman, and many others in its A History Makers display. One particular painting had caught their eye. Now that is a portrait, they observed, to the canvas as much as to each other, before taking several phone snaps of the life-size depiction of Prince William and Kate, wearing luscious greens and ironic smiles. Of the Brits depicted in that collection, the Prince and Princess of Wales, or King Charles, who was also nearby for that matter, weren't the ones I personally felt expressed something about my identification with Britain. But, as the reaction of my anecdotal outsiders shows, our royalty retains the power of its charisma. Whether those of us who live here are indifferent to them or not, seemingly the majority of us are, bar those from the older and younger generations who are broadly in favor or broadly against, our monarchy sets the tone. Hierarchy, class, tradition, blood, inequality, deference, continuity, exceptionalism, symbolism, duty. Guardian journalist Polly Toynbee captured it well during a panel on democracy we spoke on at the recent Labour Party conference. When asked why she believes the monarchy's abolition is so key to moving the country forward, Polly replied that its importance lies in how it captures our minds and imaginations. It says something to us about the sort of country we are and our places in it. In a rapidly changing 21st century, how can monarchy and modernity go together? For the British royal family, this has rested on a continual quest to stay relevant, drawing in the tourists, local engagements, balcony appearances, the pomp of state banquets, public campaigns. The problem is its reliance on Britain's established press, specifically the tabloids, to portray this image. They have no guarantee of being able to favorably portray this image because, alongside the photo ops and puff pieces, the press requires drama too. Individuals through which moral judgments or approbation can be channeled to feed our more base instincts, the need for a national soap opera. The story of our royalty and press then is a story about power and where it lies within the British establishment, about the two institutions' mutual reliance in the name of the public, with neither subjected to any real scrutiny, despite their considerable influence behind closed doors. So why does this relationship matter? A year on from the death of our longest reigning queen, Elizabeth II, whose life straddled the British Empire at its height in the 1920s to its diminished status a century later, the symbolism of the monarch, often portrayed as its most important quality, is beginning to be wrought anew by King Charles, whose hands are tied by his arch-rivals in national storytelling, the right-wing press. That same feral press is often seen as the invasive force which paid the paparazzi to hound Princess Diana, a hot pursuit for lucrative tabloid pictures, which was a contributing factor to her premature death in a car crash in Paris in 1997. As the phone hacking trial a decade ago proved, Diana's sons, William and Harry, were some of the most prolific targets of the news of the world's intrusion in their teens and early 20s. According to one former member of the royal household, Queen Elizabeth once warned, "There are powers at work in this country about which we have no knowledge." What did she have in mind? Could it have been the powerful right-wing press? While the monarchy shapes our minds and imaginations, the press has the ability to affect our everyday lives in ways we may not be consciously aware of. Our newspapers are partisan, too often advancing the personal interests of their wealthy offshore owners in conjunction with those in positions of power, while algorithmic-driven social media platforms, online clickbait advertising models, and the rise of U.S. culture war-style broadcasters such as GB News only add to the division and disinformation disseminated. Byline Times was founded in 2019 as one of the only publications in the British media landscape willing to hold the press to account, independently funded by our readers and outside of any establishment system. This newspaper, without fear or favor, is able to scrutinize how our tabloid press and monarchy are powers at work. This is why, in its first retail edition available in shops, we are revealing the world-exclusive story about how and why Prince Harry and Meghan left our royal family. The truth about Megxit. As Dan Evans and Tom Latcham's detailed investigation shows, it appears that the institution of the monarchy was willing to avoid fully investigating the leak of confidential information about the Sussexes to journalist Dan Wooten, and seemed to take sides with the press over Prince Harry. Given King Charles' known dislike of the tabloids, the story sheds new light on the toxic codependency between the royals and the Murdoch press, and raises fresh questions about the extent to which the monarchy will go to protect the reputation of its key members. Whatever we think about Harry and Meghan, they represented a chance to modernize the monarchy and change how this country sees itself. Many like me, young people, people of color, those who value openness, vulnerability, individuality, and ambition, who relate to the diverse Britain of opportunities we grew up in while living with the deep-rooted cultural and systemic problems it still must confront, will have found something to relate to in Prince Harry and Meghan. Their departure from the royal family is another marker of Britain's retreat into Little England. We are moving further away from the outward-looking, diverse, modern country Britain really is, at exactly the moment we need to be moving with the times. King Charles pushed the Duke and Duchess of Sussex into commercial deals in the U.S. by withdrawing £700,000 funding for a trial year in Canada over a royal cash-for-leaks scandal sparked by journalist Dan Wooten, Byline Times can reveal. The financial sanctions stemmed from a refusal to remove from legal papers the name of a Kensington Palace aide whose partner was receiving money from the then Sun newspaper executive editor, allegedly for stories about Megxit and Prince Archie. It resulted in the collapse of the Sandringham Agreement struck under the late Queen in January 2020 to give Prince Harry and Meghan Markle an opportunity to escape the royal press rota in the UK and continue in public service from North America. Now, as part of a 3-year investigation into the conduct of Wooten, which has already unmasked him as a serial catfish and sparked a Metropolitan Police probe, Byline Times is publishing a 3-part special into his dealings with the royal household.